Everyone, welcome to tonight, October 18th, 7 PM, Water Pollution Control Authority meeting. We are recording, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. We have an agenda posted. We have a few agendas posted. The most recent agenda was posted yesterday. If there's any proposed changes to that? If none, we will proceed as posted. Is there a way to move that so I can see, Matt,
Good question.
maybe change
You
one?
just drag it or
There we go.
see?
Yeah. No, that's good.
Do that.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Matt, thanks for joining us.
No problem. You guys can hear me okay, right?
Sounds clear. Sounds
Okay.
great. First item, Bills and Communications, approval of the September 20th, 2023 minutes. Those were the minutes that were sent out yesterday at 2:49 and posted to the website. Proposed changes, motion?
Motion to accept.
Motion from Tom, second. Chris, all in favor?
I have can you hear me?
I'm clear.
Okay. I've got a not a change, a significant change, but you spelled Joe's name wrong.
Okay, I'll change that.
Sheila, thanks for doing those.
And one of the recommendations I may have is that since all the attendees are on the top, or it's got first and last name, there are certain places on the minutes that'll say Mr. Drew, and there's other places that'll say Ron Drew. Just be consistent, so during the body of it, save some typing strokes.
Do you have a preference, Ron, for how we address you?
I keep it short and sweet, whatever.
Always been Ron to me.
The Grand High Arch round. It's not.
Okay, let's
Don't make fun of me now.
let's continue on to new business, and it's the season for sewer adjustments. So Tom and Ron have been teed up to help us through this, which I most appreciate. Do you have any particular order you'd like to go through, guys?
We can just follow the order on the agenda. So, Joe gave us some guidance there. Essentially, we're going to base the case of 1520 post road. We'll base it on the 2021 actual and adjust for the rate increase. So by my calculation, it comes to $3,576.83.
Is there anyone from 1520 here, sir?
To go up there?
Yeah, we can see you better, actually, if you do that.
As an attorney, I'm not going to fight what's already been said. My name is Jim. My name is Jim Walsh. I'm general counsel of Colony Grill, restaurant in town. Colony, see, is our company name that runs the restaurant at 1520 Road. And I'm also here to represent the landlord. I've got a letter was submitted. I don't know if you've seen it, but a letter was submitted. The tax collector told me he sent it over.
Okay.
We give it to you, Chairman. It's in the backup.
Yeah, I put it in.
Basically, the property manager, who's also the agent for the owner, gave me permission to represent the owner of the property, Mercurio Brothers, who we rent from. Basically, to explain, under our lease, we're responsible for all sewer use bills. We pay all Aquarian bills. And there was a problem that probably started at the end of August, maybe September, that some of our operations team didn't pick up, where our Aquarian bills started going crazy. And by the time they picked it up in January, and we got our own people in there, our own commercial plumbers, I gave you the plumber bill showing that they came out. They could not find any leak in our in our location. And this is something we do deal with, just not to this degree, meaning that we have leaky toilets. And sometimes we'll see our water bill go up 10% or something. We take care of that, and we've never been before you before asking for an appeal or anything else like that. The number on this was crazy. We ended up having to call Aquarian in, and they had admitted that they didn't change the water meter on time. It was past the 12-year requirement of the state statute, of state regulations. And when they came in and they replaced it, immediately the bills went down to normal. So I can go, I don't want to, I know you have a large agenda. I don't want to, I can go through every document I put in here, or if anybody has any questions about that. But we're asking for relief, and what Mr. McCarthy just mentioned would be acceptable to us. So I don't want to waste your time. But I'm also here to answer any question you have regarding any of the documents.
So I appreciate the work that Tom and Joe and Ron have done in going through all the backups. So I would make is the motion on the table?
Yes, to make an adjustment for the current year water bill down to 3,576.83.
Okay, second? All in favor? Great, you're out of here by 7:05.
Also on the Board of Finance, I just want to thank your committee. Joe has been before us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Understand all the work you guys are doing, and it's an unbelievable amount of work that you guys have.
Very thoughtful of you.
And I'm blown away by the amount of work, and I know Joe's the front people, so I just wanted to thank you, because I'm out before you very frequently, but
Really appreciate it.
let me imagine all the meetings you're having about it, but on behalf of the town, I'd like to thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Good night. Yeah, you guys do a lot of work as volunteers. It's greatly appreciated.
Right, I got you.
Thanks. What's next?
930 Mill Hill Terrace.
Second. Okay. So, I believe 930 prior years uses times current year rate. By my calculation, that comes to 39,937.10.
Hold on, I lost you on that. So 9:30.
Yeah, but let's see, so in the 2021 actual was 36,910. If I were to apply the rate increase amount, comes to 39,937.10. Right, yeah, 36,910 was the actual for 2021. And based on that usage, we're making adjustment for the rate increase. The amount comes to 39,937.10.
Any comments, questions on that? That was a big repair bill, I noticed.
A lot of them.
Second? Second from Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Matt and Ron included in that. Okay, thank you, Tom. What's next?
461 King Highway East. Recommend last year's consumption time times new rate, which comes to, by my calculation, Joe and I are always off like $1. There's some odd guy throw everything in a spreadsheet, let that do the work for me. I think, Joe, I think he used it. So, all right, so, but same thing. Last year's consumption, based on the current year rate, comes to $1,926.96.
Comments, questions on that? Motion? Motion. Chris, all in favor? Looks to be unanimous.
91 Brooklyn Drive. We did one of two ways, a 2-year average or based on prior year using the current rate. John opted for the average. If I base on last year, there's only $18 difference. So I'm going with John suggesting an average. So I would propose that we make an adjustment to sewer bill for 91 Brooklyn Drive based on current year rate. The amount comes to $1,065.75.
Comments, questions?
Which one is this again?
We're on 91 Brookmere.
Okay.
And the amount of adjustment I recommend is $1,065.75. Based on prior year consumption and current year rate.
So that's the adjustment amount.
Yeah. Well, it's the adjusted amount that the customer's liable for.
Okay, so the new bill amount, 1,065.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's based on an average as opposed to prior year, which you could argue it either way. It's academic. It's like $18 difference. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a minor adjustment.
Yeah.
Their motion.
Motion. Anyway.
Second. Chris, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Ron. 45 Penfield?
Let's see. So, average, okay, so, kind of suggested this as well, which I'll go with, the 2-year average rate of consumption, 2021 is, 117.3. That would be the cubic feet. Apply the current rate to that volume. The amount comes to $615.64. Can we do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, the prior calculation was 838, but I mean, we can do it that way. That's
I talked to the Joanne and Dave at the tax office, and I got the paperwork for the adjustment that was made to
oh, yeah, that's right.
2021. So that brings their consumption down to close to what it was the year before. So I just
Yeah.
added them together, averaged it out and multiplied.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So what's our final number on?
The amount due, $615.64 for the current year.
Okay, that's a motion. Second. Chris, all in favor? Unanimous?
Aye.
Yeah, you are a machine. Keep rolling.
Okay, 27 Mona Terrace. Let's see, again, based on the 2-year average. Well, okay, so one of two ways I could take prior year. Actually, the 2-year average it's a bigger number. If I base it, and I'm not sure I have any reason not to base it on the 2-year average. So I'm going to make an motion to make an adjustment for the current year to the amount of $722.16.
Second.
I'll second it.
Ron got you. All in favor?
Aye.
That actually jives with Joe's. It's close to Joe's as well. So my position, we both can't be wrong. Okay.
152 Carroll.
Yeah. Based on the lack of information we have, Joe suggested we do the base charge, which is $150, and we'll have more data next year for subsequent adjustments. So that's just for being connected to the pipe.
Second. Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Can you
unanimous.
repeat that?
There's a base rate. Okay.
$150.
162.50.
162.50. Mike. Right. Adjusted them.
Somebody's watching me here.
Take the village. 77 Patricia.
Okay. I did it two ways, but I'm going to go with Joe's recommendation, prior usage times adjusted for the current year-over-year increase. That comes to $415.62.
Or 1562.
Yeah.
Second. Chris, all in favor? Fine.
Aye.
All right. Sure, we'll have more next month, particularly with,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
Were all of these people that looking for adjustments, did any of them pay their bill? In other words, are we going to have to worry about giving money back or giving them a credit towards next year's?
I don't know for sure, but I think the bills just came out October 1, so I'm sure they haven't paid yet.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're going to dispute it, especially this time frame, you would,
You would think they didn't pay out.
yeah, I wouldn't. You know,
All right. You
Well-
never know.
We'll have a bunch more next month for sure, and I think Tom and Ron did such a fine job that hopefully we'll
keep my spreadsheet handy.
see you guys again in November. Thanksgiving.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right. Moving along. I think we have Mike Head. Mike, are you with us? Talk about odor monitoring. I think you're on mute. Mike Head, are you with us? Matt, do you want to pinch hit on this odor monitoring?
Sure. So, Mike had provided a scope to do baseline odor control monitoring at the treatment plant. I don't recall John, you received that scope already, right? I don't know if how far
Yeah.
it's been disseminated.
I emailed it
Um,
every, I
okay.
emailed the commission. So.
Yeah, it's dated
But-
October 6th.
Okay, so yeah, I haven't looked at it in a while, but if I recall correctly, it was like a 2-week or so monitoring period to kind of test out how the perimeter monitors would work in terms of tracking hydrogen sulfide levels on the northeast and northwest corners of the treatment plant property, basically just to get a baseline reading and see what they're at. My understanding is we haven't received any additional odor complaints over the past, what is it, a month, 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm tempted to let sleeping dogs lie and not continue with the baseline. I mean, there's no benefit to it other than getting a baseline reading. But it's possible that the baseline reading actually ends up being completely worthless depending on what the levels are anyway. So, I mean, I think it's not a ton of money, but at the same time, money can be better spent elsewhere. That's my personal take on it. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, Matt, I agree with you 100%. I think that the other thing is that most people like myself, I closed all my windows and storm windows. So springtime is when they open up the windows, and if there's going to be a stink, they'll let you know.
All right. Chris?
John, is the summertime more worse for smells? Is there more odor or more sulfur in the summertime due to sun and heat and whatnot? So it's like, if we're gonna do this, is this the right time to do it in October, November when?
No, I think you're summertime, warm weather.
So it's like, just generally speaking, if we're gonna do it, we should probably do it when the odor would be at the worst.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get a baseline.
Yeah.
To say,
Yeah.
listen, because right now, what would cause the odor except for just,
It would be more interesting in the summer just because of what's in the area. Us, we care,
Yes.
and the transfer station.
mulch transfer?
I'm pretty numb to smells. I drove by the transfer station this summer and it was horrible. So now I don't know so much. In the summertime, yeah. And we might pick up, I don't know. If we don't pick anything up at the plant, then maybe we have to look elsewhere.
And just generally, Matt, would this pick up anything from just say we do it during the summer. We say, hey, you know what, can we just put one over there on the northwest corner closer to the transfer station in the mulch pile? Will it pick up any smells, or this is more kind of for sulfur and sewage?
I mean, it measures H2S readings, and Mike had texted me and he apologizes. I think he can hear everything we're saying, but he's not able to connect on audio. So, but he was saying that I mean, we're correct. Odor is worse when the temperature is higher. It might be best to wait until, I mean, if we're actually considering doing this, then yeah, it might be worthwhile to wait until temperatures are higher. That said, I mean, if we are anticipating doing this, I mean, it would be helpful potentially to take a reading when we're not getting complaints so that we can compare that to a reading when we are getting complaints. I don't necessarily know that I'm not recommending or advocating for doing it right now, but if we were going to consider doing it, then we might want to open the can of worms in like late May, early June or something, when there's still potentially either like cold mornings or a temperature fluctuation where it's not just constant heat type of thing. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and just, I would try to suggest, if we're getting a baseline, can we try to put something over by the, just so we know what levels are over by the transfer station or the mulch pile, just so at least we could say, hey, listen, there's, you know, we're 2 parts per million at the plant and there's 10 parts per million over at the transfer station. Obviously, it's not coming from us. Just as a general, trying to do something, let's, like, what do we compare it to? So that was just a general thought. But I think we should wait, like what you said, Matt, until May or June, but I think we should have a baseline so we know what to go by.
So why don't we move this? We'll make a note to put this on the April 2024 agenda to revisit.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Matt, your expertise is invaluable. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Okay, let's move to the Metro Center. Phase 1, 2, and 3. Mega, come on over.
So I want to actually distribute these maps because you
Please.
think you get confused where I'm talking about phase 1, where I'm talking about phase 2. So this will help you.
Chair.
But you know, I have a lot.
Oh, wow. We all get our own. Frame. I see that for framing. Just have that like 1950s color too.
Anybody needs?
While that's going on, can I just mention my gratitude for the Duck Farm Bridge being open?
Oh, my God.
Bill, thank you. Bill, you are a champion.
Say thank you on behalf of the department, but Eli Gazal has really with the utilities. They owed us big time from the delay, and he organized and coordinated that out, and he got the contractor to go. So
That's
I
great.
will pass it on to him as well.
Much appreciated. Hopefully we can use that momentum here because we've got a lot of utilities.
They were going, I could hear from mine.
I swung by, they were working there. Of course, now we're getting complaints, people are speeding, but
You're never gonna win.
they haven't quite finished, but most of the job.
Looks good.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So, yeah, so we're giving an update today for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. From the map, you can see the phase 1 is all the blue line, that is a wetland crossing, that is phase 1. And all red line from Kenwood to Post Road shown, that is phase 2. So now you may know that now we are combining both the phases, phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1 designers are DNB architects and engineers, and they are also will be doing the design work for phase 2. So this is where we are now. And Ty and Bond are the environmental firm that was hired back in 2020 for phase 2 to assist in environmental work. So this is the background, a little bit what companies are working and we are combining now both the phases. So today, as mentioned in the agenda, we are here that mentioned for $308,000. So we are here to consider and approve the contract of DNB and Ty and Bond to update and provide final contract plans and specifications, including test borings to confirm depth to bedrock and soil composition, including environmental testing and assistance during borings. So we are just to consider and approve the contract of both DNB and Ty and Bond for this work. The sum of this total work that they have proposed comes around $196,000 without any contingency. Now, the question is that can operating budget cover any overage contingency from $15,000 to $30,000? That's the question because back in May 2023, $11 million was approved by the board, and that covered $300,000 for the inspection and for the utility and updating the plans. So our question is, can we would like to use that $300,000 towards this work that DNB has proposed, which is around $196,000 without any contingency. And if we cover a contingency and if we cover any time bond work between $15,000 and $30,000, can it be used under operating budget?
Can you give us an update where we are in the bid process?
Yes, for phase two.
Phase one and two.
So phase one will go for rebidding, as we know. So now we are combining phase two. Now phase two, actually, DNB is picking up from where Cardinal left. So Cardinal left at the borings because borings were incomplete. They did only until 11 feet of depth, but boring should have gone more than 11 feet of depth to determine the right foundation for the pipe, for the right bedding material for the foundation. So DNB has to do more additional borings, supplemental borings to determine the depth of bedrock. And also, it is not meeting the minimum requirement of the borings. So this is where we are right now. So we have to do supplemental additional borings, and that they have anticipated 3 months of timeline to finish the borings and provide full geotechnical analysis report to design the foundation for this work. So after 3 months, hopefully, we go for bidding.
Is that a surprise to us that we didn't have the adequate borings on the Cardinal project?
Not really a surprise because I think back in when Wright and Pierce was hired as a peer review report back in 2018, they did said in their report that supplemental borings will be required.
Gotcha.
And now DNB is also saying the same thing that Wright and Pierce had mentioned, that we require supplemental borings. And when this question was brought up 3-4 months back to Cardinal that, hey, you did not do the borings to the sufficient depth, this is where they said we will be charging extra for borings.
What are you thinking?
Why? But they did borings, but they didn't do it to the sufficient depth, or they just weren't given it. I'm just a little confused because I know there's been a lot of different borings done, a lot of different test work done, but when I'm being told that they weren't done to a sufficient depth, were they given the right information or did the information change?
That question I also asked via email, Cardinal, why this was not done. Do you think that Wright and Pierce is, are you agreeing with them or not? The question was because the cost might have gone way too high up. So they wanted to keep it low, so they did not go with that.
What?
That was the answer.
Just,
From there.
that seems like we're getting hosed,
Yes,
just as a outside person, just saying, well, we're there.
yes, and that,
You're the engineer and person there getting design. We're paying for the design. I'm just saying, I don't know why we're paying for it if they were the ones that we hired to do it. Where's our design? Sufficient design that you're gonna stamp.
Well,
And then-
Chris, that's why they got fired though.
Yeah.
No, I know, but now we're gonna have to pay for it again and we got 3 months we lost.
Understood.
It's
When,
it's
when
not-
was, when were the last borings done?
It was back 2018. It was done one.
There were two set, Bill Hurley, and there were two sets of borings done. The first set of borings, which, there were, how many borings, Carter?
Boring logs.
No, and forgive me because this is before my time and I know there was a lot of different stuff, so I don't wanna.
Look, because there was one thing that she said that I have to admit, I am not sure of.
Date is not even given here.
Oh, I see the depth here. What happened, for the borings, they did vary anywhere from 6.5 to, I think they went to 25 feet. In most cases, the invert, the bottom of the sewer pipe is around 23 feet. All right, we thought, all right, that's adequate. You've gone down, you know where it is. But, with the, support of excavation, based on the geotechnical engineer that we have now, they were saying that you need to go even 10 feet beyond the invert.
I have to go 30 some odd feet. Wow.
So
Yeah.
They wanna design the base, they wanna know what the base layer is for the pipe.
exactly the bedrock, because if they hit, they just want to determine if they're hitting any bedrock, because what's happening is the Cardinal did the borings, B series borings around the alignment. They did not went to the sufficient depth to determine the bedrock, so they are doing supplemental borings to determine the bedrock, to determine the right type of foundation that should support the pipe. So that's what the big information that is missing, and also the spacings were not right for the.
And
If you don't, I'll just add where the boring, on some of these borings, they went 3 feet below the pipe, 4 feet below the pipe, but other borings, they only went 1/10 or a foot below. And so
And what
they
of
were
the
saying you had to go 10 feet, which I have to admit, I did not know it had to go that deep. Usually if you hit rock or refusal, that's good enough. But apparently, in order to pin these excavations go, they want to go even deeper. If you just hit it to rock, that's not good enough when it's this deep. So we're
No, and
going
I'm-
based on that. That's the first set of
Yeah.
borings.
Yeah.
The second set of borings is for composition. And that was done by Ty and Bond around, I think it was 2021 or very early 2022. That was the one John Bodie might recall where, or anybody who was here at the time, it was like 30, their bid came in at like 34,000. And then we actually, engineering helped with the traffic control. We got it down to 30,000. They had to drop a boring or two, but we thought that was covered. Apparently though, when we're doing these additional borings, which is now in between, because again, depending on who you talk to, borings were done say every 100 feet. Most
125.
people, every 125 feet, most people say do every 50. And it was a cost thing, we were figuring, all right, we'd save a little bit on that. But now, based on all the information that's given, and the third-party review by Wright Pierce, and now even by D&D, so that's the fourth party. Those last two parties said that these borings should be done, all right? You probably have enough to go out to bid, but if you do these, it will fine tune and you'll get better bids and you'll get, there'll be less risk to the contractor, and maybe more contractors will bid on it.
So.
Because there was that little bit of gray area of not enough information.
So
They don't know what they're gonna hit.
it's written here, the depth of bedrock relative to the sewer invert can have significant impact on the difficulty and cost of excavation and dewatering. Additional borings are proposed at split spacing between prior borings to confirm the presence of bedrock, evaluate the need for rock excavation during sewer installation, and estimate potential rock excavation quantities. That is one of the reasons that they're offering, that why they want to do additional borings. And then there's also another thing that at least 10 to 15 feet below excavation subgrade should be included in the borings to support the excavation subgrade. So supplemental borings will be advanced to provide subsurface information to this depth, below 15. So they're ranging from 25 to 35 feet of depth. That's another reason that they are offering is not enough
Okay.
Their estimate is 50,000 for the borings. So like I was saying before, it was like 30,000. These are going much deeper, hence that's the additional cost.
Matt, do you, I'm sorry, let me ask Matt if he has one or two here, then I go to Chris.
So the recommendations coming from D&B and formally from Wright Pierce, correct?
Yes, right.
Where- When, have we vetted this with any of the potential contractors? I'm just curious, like, when we have not received bids or just received crazy bids, has anybody mentioned the lack of data for supportive excavation as one of the reasons? I'm all for doing this, but at the same time, I just don't want to pump another 50,000 into this and then be in the same place 6 months or whatever from now, because that
Yeah.
wasn't one of the reasons why we weren't getting bids.
Yeah, or delay the process.
This is phase two. Phase two never went out for bidding, so we never spoke to the contractors.
Got it. Okay, understood. Yep.
This is why we are trying to figure out all the unknowns before it goes out to bidding.
Mega, help us understand where we are on the combined bid package, when that's going out, when, we won't hold you to the exact dates, but help me conceptualize how and when this project gets done.
We are anticipating between 3 to 4 months to get out, because initially.
To get the bid out,
Get the bid out to combine the phases. and
then
put the bid out.
what's the construction duration, assuming Bill's got the utilities on board?
16 months,
Okay.
12 to 16 months.
Okay, so we're probably 2 years into.
Yes.
I'm asking because there's a lot of properties that want to start flowing into this. Do we have any flow data on any of these sites?
No, I asked that, we don't have, I'm not aware of
Okay.
any flow analysis done, if it is done by Wright and Pierce in 2018. But I was also asking, because we were asking for the real time properties, the DMD were asking.
Yeah, you think you'd need it for the dewatering component of the bid,
For the flow,
the flow, yeah.
We'll be using pretty much the same data that they did for the wetlands and Metro Center, since it's just a continuation. I mean, it's not that many houses that are adding to the flow.
No.
So our initial, they were, when the D&B did the design for the dewatering of wetlands, we're assuming it's going to be very similar information for.
So you don't think that those trademark properties that have since gone online would have much of an impact on that flow?
Not necessarily. The other key thing you gotta remember is that this is gonna be a new line, right after Kenwood, after the first or second manhole. Right now it goes and follows Ash Creek. This is gonna be a completely new line that follows the road. The old line follows the river. It's gonna be a whole new line. We could still possibly even use the old bypass if we had to. The existing line. And we could bump into any new manholes that are constructed as well. Depending on which they go.
For phase one, we're planning on switching to unit price contracting, correct?
yes.
Yes. Are we planning on doing that with phase two or not? And if so, I guess I'm just wanting to understand. I mean, obviously, if there's always unknowns when it comes to digging,
Yeah.
but risk is mitigated through unit price. I'm just wondering, I mean, obviously, if the deeper borings drive the design methods for supportive excavation, then that's a substantial change versus if it's just like estimating the gallons of dewatering or something. I mean, that's probably a unit price thing. We don't need to know that before construction. So I guess that's the only part that I'm not totally sure about.
Yeah,
If
so
we're switching.
yes, we did speak to DNB about unit pricing, and yes, so phase one and phase two will be in the unit pricing. However,
Okay.
as also to give you a little bit of clarity on that, we also asked them to combine both phase one and phase two contracts, and then because the specification was done by the Cardinal, they want to keep the specifications separate from phase one, because phase one was already written by Cardinal engineers to preserve the integrity of the signed and sealed design documents. They prefer keeping phase two specification separately, but we combine them.
So they're gonna sign the drawings, but they're not, that sounds like a liability risk. Do we want to be taking that on? That, I mean, I don't know how you do that.
They just want to keep whatever Cardinal has designed, that will be theirs because they have signed and sealed. Anything now, the new design specifically to borings or foundation design will be undertaken by DNB. Any shop review drawings, any revisions, that will be done by DNB. So this is how we are separating this for the design engineers separately.
Okay.
They're not saying yes and no to Cardinal, or they're just reviewing and making changes.
So if they have to make changes though to what Cardinal signed and sealed, doesn't that invalidate Cardinal sign and seal? Like, don't they have to take on engineering liability?
For anything that they change, yes, they
The
would have to.
liability is on them, yes.
But with Cardinal and their information, it was about 90-something% done, because we actually had an email, and it was in the process. It was just the funding that was one of the big hurdles here. Back in 2021, where it's like, we figure we're about 2 weeks away from putting this out to bid. That's how close, the bid work was go out to bid. And then, like I said, when we had the right Pierce review, we paused it a little bit. Then we decided we were going to get the wetland crossing, and we started that. We figured that would be quicker and easier, and both projects have taken a long time. In a nutshell, most of that stuff was already done by Cardinal. We did spend about 2 different calls at Zoom meeting and another Zoom meeting where we wanted to get it clear that they were comfortable doing that. And they said, well, anything that they changed, they would do at least a cursory review just to make sure nothing was totally out of whack, which would, again, Wright Pierce had done the same as well. But they seemed comfortable with it, and they have given us a proposal to basically carry the project forward and put it out to bid.
Cardinal never had any notes or anything that said not for construction or not for any of that kind of stuff. Like, their sealed drawings were, from a engineering liability standpoint, ready to go to construction.
Let me check, because I don't think because it was almost out to bid at one point in 2018.
If it was just shy of them. Yeah, see, that looks like a stamp, right?
Yeah,
there.
this is a stamp.
Yep.
It doesn't say not for construction.
Yep, these were stamped.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm not a lawyer.
Your
and
concerns,
yeah,
were actually
exactly.
brought up by us, so we're all on the same page.
If this
And
project
that's actually
isn't
what's
successful-
delayed it about a month or two. 'Cause
Right.
we wanted to make sure, because internally with the town and obviously with John and Christine, it was decided to let Cardinal go and not renew or have them do any extra work and just go from there. And we formally asked D&B if they were interested in doing that. They said they could. They were going to check with their attorneys. They came back and said, yes, something that we can do. So now they've given us the proposal
Okay.
to carry it forward.
So they're fine taking Cardinal's plans and putting they're the responsible party for if anything goes wrong.
So the two different ways to think this project about. One is what Cardinal has given the information and where they left. And when it goes to the construction,
I know, but I'm just saying, as a contractor, I'm gonna put in what the plans are. All of a sudden, if something doesn't work, I'm gonna say, what is the plans? And we're gonna go, okay, well, Wright Pierce, they're your plans. And they're gonna say, no, not our plans, they're Cardinal plans. we're gonna go to Cardinal and say, no, you kicked us off the job.
No,
I just want to know where if things go wrong, who's gonna end up holding it? That's all I want to know. And that's what, I don't feel comfortable doing anything unless we know.
Well, all this stuff that we're talking about has been presented to the town attorney.
Yeah.
And he was, yeah, Jim Baldwin, and he was, right, correct me if I'm wrong, right? He was there at the meeting. And it's been vetted through him. It's been vetted by D&B attorneys.
And or sorry, is it D&B or Wright Pierce that's doing that?
D&B
is
gonna be, they did, they're
They're-
on the wetland. Now,
And if something doesn't work according to the plan,
yeah,
we're gonna be looking at them and they're gonna be responsible. And that's all I want to know. And if Jim Baldwin says that's correct, I guess the buck stops with him.
how much wrong
and
can
then,
go?
yeah, I mean,
No, yeah, I'm just making sure it was asked. That's all I want to know.
again, if I recall, they were just using the same specs at Cardinal, because again, Cardinal had stamped and provided us with the specs. I imagine 90% of the specs are standard specs, if you know what I mean. There's just the special and technical specifications.
We're building it per D&B's stamped plans
They have,
for construction. There's nothing on their plans that say, please refer to Cardinal. Cardinal did the initial engineering.
haven't given us a plan. The way they have taken is they're keeping all the specification that Cardinal has submitted. That will stay what Cardinal has done, and they will be reviewing the specification and any modification to the specification done by the DNB. That's what they will be liable for.
So, I mean, I understand obviously there's going to be two sets of drawings that are going to be combined into one package. They're two different locations, but are you saying that there's going to be two separate set of specs, one for phase one and one for phase two, or is there going to be one set of specs that drives both?
As for and we asked this question to them, and their answer is that they will be reviewing the specifications, phase two specifications submitted by Cardinal to avoid conflicts between the phases. However, they anticipate keeping the majority of the specifications for phase two intact to preserve the integrity of the signed and sealed design documents. So this is how we are separating the specification to just preserve their integrity of the sealed design documents.
Okay, I mean, this is uncharted territory for me, but I would just make sure that,
For us, yep.
yeah, I mean,
I
any,
mean, either that or we go back to, we're gonna,
So,
we Cardinal,
so,
same as if Cardinal had gone out of business, for instance.
Let
well,
me,
no, I fully agree with, I mean, Cardinal should have been kicked off a long time ago. I'm glad they finally are, and I would not trust them to manage this thing into construction. It's more just, if we have two separate sets of specs that apply to the same job, we have to be crystal clear on where specs apply and where they
Oh, yeah,
don't.
I think it does, because one is obvious with the wetland, and we'll call that phase one, and then phase two would be the other. I think it could be clear, it will be clear cut.
let me ask
Okay.
the obvious question from the non-professional. If we don't trust Cardinal, but we're gonna trust their plans for some reason, what would it cost in terms of time and expense for D&B or somebody else to create a new set of plans for phase two?
A completely new set of.
Probably say
plans.
at least a year.
So the way I'm understanding your question, you just want DNB
Scrap-
to redesign this?
Scrap the Cardinal plan and have somebody else design a new plan. I'm not suggesting we do it, but it's a question that needs to be answered.
Why do you want redesigning?
Why? Because I found that when I remove someone for non-performance, then I often find other reasons why they should have been removed before.
Yes.
So I think intuitively embedded in their plans are going to be some things that don't make sense. And D&B is going to say, well, they didn't make sense and you gave them to us. And now you have, somebody's got to deal with the ramifications of that.
One of the things though, if I recall, when Wright Pierce had done the review, they didn't really have any issues per se with the plans. It was just some of the alternatives and, you know it better than me, but they had said, that it was okay, because we were even thinking of just going right from there, as I said, after that review. They had the concerns with the boring. They said, at least investigate some of the, trenchless technology and some of that. That's what we had done as well. And that's what, we're going by. Really, Cardinal, you guys might not have been happy with them before. I thought they did an okay job, but what happened was their head designer had retired or left the company. And then from that point on is where we and probably WPCA had issues because they were understaffed. He would have to bring in 2 new engineers to finish the design. And we're like, well, if we're doing that, might as well have D&B. At least they're familiar with the project. They're familiar with the area.
Also, like how much Cardinal has not done the job. I mean, if you see the foundation design is incomplete, that's something the DNB has to do the design for the foundation. That's not done. That's a major core of the design. The rear side lateral connections are completely undetermined. That's what they will be doing.
That was out of their scope, in fairness.
So that's new design. Foundation is a new design. And what else?
Rims and inverts are okay.
I think, and I mean, I don't mean to speak for all me, Mark, and Chris, but I think the main concern we have is just that it sounds from like what you guys are saying that D&B is trying to rely on Cardinal's liability, whereas when we asked them to take over Cardinal's design, I think it was, I mean, at least from my perspective, it was implied that they should have been taking over the liability. I mean, they should be reviewing the drawings, making corrections. And ultimately, if something goes wrong during construction, everybody's going after them. I mean, sure, I'm sure any lawyer would tack Cardinal on there, but Cardinal's going to say we didn't finish the job. And they're right, they were fired before that. So I don't understand how we can maintain Cardinal's liability on this when we don't trust them.
I mean, the way I'm understanding is like, you mean like DNB taking the full liability of Cardinal plans?
Well, they're finishing the design. And so, I mean, they're, like you guys said, Cardinal did a 90%. 90% though is not final design. So, I mean, it's not a huge lift, but DNB still has to take it to the finish line. And by doing that, they are making themselves liable for taking on the construction risk, which is why they're asking for more money, I think. I mean, I doubt that it's $250,000 worth of effort to finish it up, but I mean, they better make something off of taking on all that additional risk. So
The only thing I could say, we'll double check with the town attorney. I mean, because I said, that's what you have, that's the only way we could properly.
Well, I was about to say, I mean, do we know Jim's read on who is ultimately accountable in the event of, not living up to the contract?
I wouldn't want to speak for him.
So, but I think that that's a question we need to have answered, because that's what's, that's the elephant in the room. I mean, we all kind of spoke to it in different ways, but if something goes south, we don't have different parties pointing their fingers at one another. If everybody's accountable, no one's accountable. And I think we need to read from the town attorney on this.
And the other thing, as I said, we were 2 weeks away from doing, so it could even be 98 or 99% of the design, if you know what I mean. The reason why I say 90% is now, as I said, additional borings. So, I mean, that's why I pulled it back.
Yeah,
But
it's our job to worry about this.
it was 2
Utility
weeks away.
permits, utilities are pending. This is what I'm working on, utilities, so we're kind of saving cost on that. So coordinating with utility companies. Permits we are doing in-house, Connecticut deed permits. So we're not giving it to them. I think from permitting utilities, we have taken over, except the foundation design, that's out of review. So that's where DNB is coming in and doing the foundation design, and that's a major part because.
Okay, Chris?
That's where I am. I would not feel comfortable at all unless if we're gonna hire DNB, we're gonna have their stamps on the plan. If they're not, or we want to go out and bid, it's gonna be the Cardinal plans, but if there's two separate engineers and two separate, the liability is gonna be on us and it's not gonna end up well. So I think either we gotta make a decision and say, we should talk to D&B and say, what's it gonna be to put your stamps on the plan? Or can we, go out and bid the plans that we have?
If you're a contractor bidding based on plans and you have stamps from one and stamps from the other,
Who are you gonna call?
yeah,
Who's gonna answer your questions? They're gonna say, well, I don't know, Cardinal designed it. D&B is it's just gonna be a finger pointing.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a complete, I think we gotta know what it is. If we kick Cardinal off, I'm fine with that. That's great. They weren't performing. But we gotta have whoever we hired stamps on the plan. They could take those plans, but it's gonna be their stamp.
look, we're talking about $20 million and
It's a huge liability and it's gonna end up on us. No insurance is gonna cover it. No one's gonna do it because they're gonna say, well, who are we gonna point fingers at? No one. And I don't think we should do any additional borings until we have those answers, because you never know, maybe D&B is gonna say, actually, you might wanna do a couple more here and there, or we might do something. I think we gotta answer those questions first. I really hate to drag it out again, but I don't feel comfortable where we are at all.
One question I have, this is why we are giving them their drawings and specification, because they're going to review it first and then.
But I don't want to review. I want to ask them, what's it going to be to put your stamp on the plan?
Well, they'll have to review it first, Chris.
No, yeah, but because they could review it and that's what it seems like they're doing. They're reviewing it and then adding additional notes to the review for,
That was the expedited plan. And two other things to keep in mind, as we delay, let's just say we go and redesign it or whatever, another year, say goodbye to the 750, the grant, and say, and then if the prices go up another 10%, I mean, I hate to say this is
that's just,
trouble before.
no, but my feeling,
I mean,
I don't.
we'll check with the town attorney, make sure, we'll also ask them, because maybe if they're talking of, well, yeah, by the time we do all this review and you want us, well, then we gotta figure in our risks and whatever, and it's gonna be another 50,000, well, then fine. I think for that kind of protection, I totally agree with you. But if they're like, well, then we gotta redesign and do everything from scratch, you're adding another year and you're adding
3 years
another,
at least.
probably 200,000 or 300,000.
But then why can't we just go with the Cardinals?
No, we don't want, that's a terrible idea. We
But
do
then-
not want Cardinal back in.
But then
I guess
Then
My
why are
main
we taking their
concern-
plans then?
my main concern is we want D&B, we're expecting D&B to do the construction administration for both projects, correct? Design services during construction. They'll be doing shop drawing review, RFIs, all that type of stuff. I just want to make sure that they treat the full design package the same. Like if they end up saying like, yes, we approve this shop drawing because Cardinal specified some dumb spec or something like that, that's not going to be acceptable.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they basically treat whatever Cardinal had done as theirs and say like, yes, this is the right thing to do, and so we approve it, then that's fine by me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just want to make sure that they're not going to, I mean, based on what you guys described, it sounded like D&B is trying to skirt responsibility for things that Cardinal had done by keeping a separate set of specs and keeping as many drawings with their seal on it as possible. And that didn't sit right by me.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be that they're trying to skirt, obviously, risk reward kind of situation, but it's also that we've been the ones pushing them for expediting and doing whatever. If you want to drag it, that's your, that's your
At the
decision.
end of the day, they need to step us as the integrator.
Right? I mean, the other thing is,
Exactly.
we do have a good inspection team on board. It's the Lukes, if anyone's ever heard of them. They do a lot of, for the aquarium company. So they have even, said that if a design issue came up, if it was something that they felt comfortable addressing, they might even be able to do it without going to D&B even. So
Okay, good.
that's good to know too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think we have to finalize and confirm with Jim Baldwin, the first thing, and then the other, Mega can certainly ask D&B, if you took Cardinal stamp off and put your stamp, what would that involve? And then we'll find out from there.
I don't know how legal we can do ethically, taking other design engineer work and putting your own stamp ethically, I don't.
But that was, we knew that, and that's why it was,
Yeah.
that's why we hung on the Cardinal so long, because we knew this was a unique situation and one that is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination.
So if they review Cardinal's signed and sealed drawings and say that they don't have any recommendations for changes, then I'm perfectly fine with it maintaining Cardinal seal for those particular drawings. But obviously anywhere where they make a change, they have to seal it.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah,
I think that would be our,
This is where my understanding was from the conversation and from the proposals they have done, that anything different they're adding or anything designs that's DNB or whatever has been done before is Cardinal. And this is why they are proposing all the review work for their shop drawing reviews and the plan reviews. And this is why they're doing all the boring log reviews, the discrepancies was submitted to us, and they proposed more borings. That this was done, but they proposed more borings. So this is how we are coordinating with them. And this is review that, and then,
Okay.
just make sure that when it goes to the construction, that you're not finding something unexpected. And that was my first question to DNB as well, was when I sent all the documents to them, that, if you can review and find out what questions needs to be answered, what is missing, and what needs to be done to this design plan before even going this far with them.
Right. Okay. No, I mean, that sounds good to me then. I mean, because at that point, we could still hold them accountable during design or during construction when they're
Yeah.
doing reviews and they're saying, yes, this submittal conforms with the design. And even though Cardinal signed off, we reviewed it and said that we're accepting of Cardinal's drawings as is. So
they'll be signing the shop drawings and all that.
exactly. Yeah. They're still, even though they're not taking on the design liability for those sheets, I guess, they're still taking on liability by
And
accepting.
somebody had mentioned if the contractor has a question, design services during construction,
Is all on them.
it's gonna be on them.
Is
Right.
So it's not, but I do know where it could get confusing, but it
Yeah.
might not be as complicated as at first
Yeah.
we were making it out.
Yep.
Uh,
No, it's a little clearer to me now.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is, a lot of you may or may not know, but when we got the 11 million, the $3 million community challenge grant, and we have 11 million that was approved by the town. Updating the engineering and doing the testing, we had 300,000 for that. So if you were to take all of DNB's and their subcontractor and the borings information, the best estimate that we have now, it was, that's yours, right?
No, this is 279.
Okay.
Now,
All right, so 280,000 for DNB and the geotechnical engineer, their subconsultant and the borings.
yes,
And then another 16,000 to have Ty and Bond take the composition samples. If we're doing new borings, might as well get that composition in and get that tested. The $16,000, they were originally charging us, what, 8,000? And so the other 8,000 basically covers the laboratory expenses for that. Anyway, you add that all together, as Megan said, it was like 290 something.
so $296,000, it is only for DNB or MRCE, but if you just add, this is contingency, I added. So
Yeah, no, without contingency, we had 296.
Yeah,
So we have the 300 covered. You wouldn't need to do anything, but if it goes over, or
over
if you wanted a 10% contingency, then the question would
the
be,
operating
does
budget.
that money come out of the operating budget? Can you cover up to 25,000 out of your operating budget? That would be the question. If we even needed it. Right now, we have enough to get it going, but if you needed it, that
We
was.
need extra operating budget.
If you had to take it out of the fund balance or something else, then you gotta go through all the three boards or. So. That's, that's the update, and literally every day Meg has been on the phone talking to either Time Bond or D&D.
DNB and time on DNB, so. Right. And we're also doing in-house permits and utility coordination, just to expedite the process.
It was a sort of, a resolution that was read beforehand. If you want to approve that or approve it under the contingency that, the town attorney, whatever, once it comes, the only fear I have is because if we don't sign on this, that means we wait another month. Now, we're looking at probably February, March, to
March or
put it
April.
out to bid, and then it just keeps on pushing things down the road.
So Huntley, the motion is to hear, consider an act upon a proposal to add an additional $308,000 in additional funding by the town engineering department for East Trunk Line.
That we were gonna say is to scrap it, because when they put that out, they did not realize phase 2 had 300,000 already set aside. So you don't need to go for additional.
That's fine.
So it's authorize, allocate, reallocate.
So Mega, I think you were reading the resolution early on when you were making your presentation. Do you want to read that again? I think that was what you were proposing that they were now maybe with the contingency of concerns that you guys had.
Yeah, so we are here to resolve and hereby consider and approve the contract of DNB and Tyne Bond to update and provide final contract plans and specifications, including test borings to confirm depth to bedrock and soil composition, including environmental testing and assistance during borings. So this is what we got here for. You want to read them out?
Is there amount attached to that? Is there an amount attached to that?
So the sum of this total DNV and MRC, their subcontractor, the total we came up with $296,000 without any contingency. If you add contingency, it is $325,600 for the.
I'm lost, is anybody? So we're saying that the motion in front of us of 308,000 is scrap, but there's a different motion of 300, and let's call it 25,000.
No. So what happened was when this, we looked into further, past that how much money was sent technically before this was just, the agenda was written, we did not look further into this. What Bill is saying that $11 million was approved in May 2023. That included $300,000 for updating engineering, utility plans and testing. So that has already been set aside. The amount that DNB has proposed us is equivalent to
296.
Yes.
300.
Well, we have it, it's just not much of a contingency. If we need a contingency, then
So
it
yes,
would probably have to come out of your operating budget,
So-
if you have that. It's basically what.
So is that the proposal now that in the event or to cover contingencies, the operating budget will?
No, I think we just need to vote on the motion at which we'll vote down and then move on to current projects. And if there's a need for a contingency, then we'll address that next month.
That's,
You already have the money, so it's,
I just don't know, and this is part of the, in the past, it'd be, okay, we get it, or engineering or DPW signs off on it. But now you guys, I think, have more power, so I was just wanted to make sure you guys.
That's right. Sometimes I forget about our.
you let it go to your head.
I know.
Yeah, Mark.
You guys approved it, so we still have to go back to the Board of Selectmen and the town attorney contract. So that's why we're trying to
to
get.
expedite the process. So
Okay.
It's already there without any contingency.
Okay.
Now, it is possible, the town attorney could say, this has already been through the boards, you already had the 300,000, all I gotta do is review it. And maybe we don't have to go to the Board of Selectmen.
On the 300.
Right.
I would argue that's absolutely the case.
That's what I would too, but
Yes. I wish,
I agree. You or I on the same page. So we might not even have to go through. I'm just,
so the motion in front of us, is there a second? Second from Chris, all in favor? Like none? Okay. Let's move on. Hi, are you here for a sewer adjustment?
No.
Okay. We good? Relatively good.
That's exactly. No, I know. You're reading my mind.
Okay. Let's continue on to,
so, excuse me, so you're not gonna vote on it or you gotta
so
decide?
to add an additional, we voted that down.
Okay.
And then just procedurally for the 300 that's in the budget that we've already approved, it's our position that that doesn't need to go back through that daisy chain.
Okay, all right. I just wanna,
I'm happy to be on a call with you and the town attorney. This is an important project. We need to get it moving.
right, and only because the last page of the contract, someone had to sign, so that's why.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we had the blessing, if it's us that signs, or if it's John Bodie, or if it's you, I mean, that was, just gotta find a
Contract with D and B?
contract with D and B
And
and
can
time.
find one for the environmental assistance.
The intent, so the intent, if I understand it correctly, Mike, was to essentially replace what you had in there for that language and the approval of the money. After going back and looking at it, you determined that it was already included in the budget, so it doesn't need to get approved. But to replace that with the approval by the board, the blessing of the board for the contract.
That's correct.
Yes, exactly.
That's what
So
it
there shouldn't be a motion.
So there,
No, to me, that's just doing business. That's.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm just closing it out. I just, in the minutes, if it says approved, it's never in a question, that's what I mean.
Feel it, what are you thinking? I don't know, what's this consensus of the commission?
The initial 300,000 was for engineering services, right?
Correct.
Yes,
These are engineering services, aren't they?
Correct.
yes, these are engineering services.
I think it's already been approved.
And all right, that's, at least then that's the message and it gets put in the minutes or whatever. But again, you have to realize, we didn't want to go in and sign something without going to you guys, we want to make sure.
I appreciate the update.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's important to you guys to keep it.
All right, then, we're good then.
Okay.
All right.
Well, while we have you, can we transition to the update on current projects? Pump station design update, digester update?
The pump stations one, Christine is working, but we are in the, with the pump stations.
We had a meeting with the state today and we went over their wants and their needs, and it seems to be a little different from the time we talked to them. So Christine is coordinating with them and talking to Ty and Bond and trying to get everybody on the same page.
Yes, technically, just to give an overview, like, we had a meeting back in August with Connecticut Deep, and Jared, you were in the meeting, and the meeting was all about following the procedure and the fundings. So DNB said that at that time, we should combine the design, especially all of the top two priority considerations together, combine them the design, and submit them for the review. But today meeting, they said that we will have to allocate the funds for each design separately. The town has to approve the design for separate pump stations. This is what the Connecticut Deep told us, and that was like a little bit of different than what last time was told us.
Yeah.
That's where it created a little bit of confusion.
In a nutshell, they said before is we could do 3 designs and then each construction project, we would get approval. Now they're saying, well, they don't want to allocate, they could give us a pre-approval, but they couldn't give us the actual authorization until the town had committed to fund all 3 pump
All the
stations.
pump stations.
So that's where we stand. Right now, a quick estimate might be 12 to $15 million.
15, yeah.
And, do we go to the boards or do we wait until maybe 30% design and then at least have something to go by? So that's what the approach we're gonna probably take. Or we could take, the other approach would be to have them, we have the contract to do all 3, but give them, you know what, Fairfield Beach Road, that's the priority. I think everybody agrees. That would be our first design and then go.
And then go step by step, that
Kind of like mini phases.
this is what we planned previously, but when we had a meeting back in August, we changed it because Connecticut Deep said to submit them for 3 priority lists for the pump stations, for the approvals and to consider for the funding.
And I think it's important is the last couple of years, they've had like 8 million set aside for the state. So to ask for 15 million, it's not, so that's why they were saying the kind of, now after they realized how much it might be, they changed their mind on it. So for a month, we kind of lost a little bit of progress, but at least now we have it straightened out. So that's the update with that.
Go for it. Any digester? The update?
Now you have.
That will be John.
Final invoice was received today and gonna be paid. It's been operational for close to 3 months now. Running still fine.
Any sewer bypasses?
Yes, sir. There was one at 501 Shepherd Street. That was a grease plug. There was one at 233 Beaumont. We lost about 250 gallons. We had a grease blockage and we also had a broken pipe. And then during the storm on that Friday, when we had about 4 inches of rain, we lost about 1,000 gallons bypass at Grassmere Avenue and about 6,000 gallons at Haiti. As grandiose as that seems, in the past, when we've had rain of that magnitude, it's been a lot more manholes and a lot more gallonage. So unofficially, we're making headway on I&I.
It's a lot of rain. In an hour. It was a lot of rain.
Oh, yeah, no, it was close to 2 inches in an hour or two, and then another 3 overnight.
Let me open it up for public comment. Would you like any comment, questions? Anyone? I think MPH is Mike had. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Second. All in favor? Thank you, everyone, for your time and devotion.